Recording in progress.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Good afternoon, and welcome to this weekly media briefing with Montgomery County Executive Marc Elrich. I'm Lorna Virgili, Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today is Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as Dr. Nina Ashford, the Chief of Public Health Services for Montgomery County, Ms. Luisa Cardona, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, and our guest today is Chris Conkling, Director of the Department of Transportation. Thank you for joining us. Mr. County Executive, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been a rough week. In the days leading up to this storm, I stressed the importance of patience. Our weather forecasters helped us anticipate the ice that came with the sleet we saw on Sunday. Anticipating it and having to live with it are very different things. The snow and ice removal process has been grueling. In the past several years, we've gotten very used to just brushing light snow off the road, but this storm is not going away so easily. The persisting cold will continue to stick around, making this job even more difficult. I remember just waking up the other morning and looking outside, and there was sun, and I realized nothing is melting. The sun is having no effect on anything because it was so cold, and it's not going to get above freezing until after the weekend. So the snow is not dissipating by itself, and the freezing that occurred has made this much more difficult. In the past several years, it just hasn't been like this. I want to extend my gratitude to the county employees who've been working tirelessly under these challenging conditions to keep our community safe. This includes our emergency responders, our transportation crews, and snowplow operators. And Health and Human Services outreach teams are working to shelter unhoused residents. In this cold, the MC311 staff is handling high call volumes. I also want to recognize municipal governments, the nonprofits, the faith organizations, the community groups, all the volunteers and elected officials at every level who stepped up to help neighbors and strangers alike. They've delivered supplies, checked on older adults, and supported people who needed assistance. And those efforts are going to continue. Our transportation team is diligently responding to the MC311 calls and email requests. We acknowledge the frustration and feedback from our residents regarding the accuracy of our plow tracker, showing 100% when there are still streets that need attention. I've been getting emails about those streets. The tracking system is useful, but it's not perfect. And some of these streets are not accessible to crews due to stopped or stranded or parked cars, and mechanical and other factors limited our ability to complete entire routes, even though they may show us as complete. At this point in our operations, the snow clearance tracker is not suitable for following our progress on the remaining areas that need attention, so we're resetting the completion level in the snow tracker to better reflect our actual progress, and that level will not change until we're fully complete with residential street snow operations. We've also identified a communications challenge between 311 and our operation team. Service requests are being identified as closed in 311 when the request is sent to our operation team. It's not actually closed until the operation team mobilizes people to deal with it. Please note that the operations team has the request and will address the street conditions you've reported. At this point, even if it says you've been plowed and you know you haven't, actually it's not going to say that. I guess what it's going to say is that whatever happens after the thing was reset is what is going to be is going to represent what it was at the point that was reset, not any progress. So stay tuned, and our folks will be there. Our highway services team made one pass for snow clearing of nearly all residential streets in the county, but there are some streets that still need attention. Additionally, plowed streets are likely to still have snow and ice cover, but they should be passable by most vehicles. Some residents have sent us requests for snow plowing and included photos showing that the street has been plowed, but is not completely clear. It is unlikely that the plowing will result in clear pavement, and the snow and ice will remain visible on the road even after it's plowed for some time, given the cold temperatures that we're experiencing. One of the things that was pretty much impossible for many people to do was, we had originally said park on one side of the street, the first day, and then park on the other side of the street the next day. Well, after the first plowing, with so much frozen stuff, people never dug their cars out and never moved their cars to the other side of the street, because what should have been an easy, well, nothing's easy with snow, but what should have been relatively easy is moving snow turned into an ordeal of people trying to move ice, and a lot of people just simply couldn't do it or do it within a reasonable time frame. We ask all our residents to continue to submit 311 requests, preferably online, to avoid wait times on the phone for streets that have not been plowed at all, and we will prioritize those requests. Again, if your streets have not been plowed at all, those requests will be prioritized. For streets that are plowed but narrow and snow covered, we are continuing to work to improve the conditions. This work will continue for quite a while longer. We're also working to clear sidewalks, street corners, and bus stops where the county is responsible for snow removal. This work is very difficult as well, and it's going to take a substantial amount of time to complete. You cannot simply run a snowblower down a street right now, because the first thing you're encountering is this sheet of ice. I had the joyous experience of trying to dig my car out yesterday, and I had 3 feet of ice on top of all the snow. So I had to remove all the ice layer before I could get down and remove the rest of the nice, light, fluffy snow the way it should be, but not snow the way it was on top. I'd like to invite our County Department of Transportation Director, Chris Conklin, to provide an update on the cleanup effort. And Chris, it's all yours.
Yes, thank you, County Executive. You did a great job summarizing the status. As you mentioned last night, we got through most of the residential neighborhoods. Again, I recognize that there are some streets that haven't got the attention they deserve. We're working through that backlog of requests and are continuing to work to widen out and improve the residential street condition. We are trying our best not to plow you back into your driveway. It's very difficult for us to control, sometimes impossible, where that snowbank goes. And when we move snow off the street, it has to go somewhere. And oftentimes it ends up in a pile along the edge of the road. But we'll do our best not to plow you back in, but I cannot offer you no guarantees that you won't have a new snowbank at your driveway as we get through all those residential locations. You mentioned sidewalk clearing. Sidewalk clearing is very difficult. We have our crews out there working on it, trying to get the sidewalks cleared. And similarly, our highway team is assisting our transit team in making bus stops more accessible. That work is going to continue likely through the rest of this week. We are also working on snow hauling operations. We've completed much of the work in Bethesda and Wheaton and in Clarksburg and Germantown, and we'll be doing more snow hauling operations out of Silver Spring overnight tonight so that the business districts are more accessible. As you mentioned, 311 is the best place to get our snow clearing requests. They are processed through an organized system and get to our dispatch teams and our snow operations center that way. Wait times have been somewhat long for the call volume, we understand earlier today, but there's no difference in the prioritization of a live call to 311 compared to an online request for service. So that's a great way for you to get information to us. As the county executive mentioned, plowed streets are still snow covered. So before you think your street hasn't been plowed, make sure that it actually hasn't been plowed. And if there are, there's more than 3 or 4 inches of snow on the street, then it probably hasn't been plowed. And we would appreciate you letting us know that and being very specific in your service request, whether the street has been plowed or not. We are also reviewing these locations with our own inspectors and crews as they're out in the field, but your requests for service are helpful. I do want to acknowledge the frustration of being stuck at your home for an extended period of time. I know that it is draining and frustrating, and there is no differential treatment between the neighborhoods in this county in terms of some people getting snow service and others not. We have as many complaints about unplowed streets in Bethesda as we do in Aspen Hill or Silver Spring or the Up County. So please know that we are not picking and choosing favorites in how we handle these snow requests. They are being handled equitably based on the severity of the need, the time the request has reached us. We are working hard. Our crews are working hard. Our equipment is working hard, and some of it is breaking. The snow is snow and ice is very difficult to move, and the equipment has been at it now for 6 straight days, and the same toll that it takes on our community who's stuck, it takes on our staff and on our equipment. So I'm thankful for our partners in the Department of General Service that are getting these equipment repaired quickly and back in service, and thankful to the crews and DOT who have been now stationed at work locations since last Thursday, and have persevered through very difficult conditions to continue to serve the community. And please know that we are sensitive to the frustration you all feel and are working as hard as we can to get everybody cleared and freed so that they can conduct their regular business. I'm happy to answer questions at the end of the discussion.
Thank you, Director Conklin. Mr. County Executive, would you like to open it up right now for questions?
Yeah, let's talk about snow right now.
Okay, let's talk about snow. All right, members of the media, please raise your hands. And I see Ms. Hackleby from Bethesda today. Go ahead.
Hello. I am just wondering if either the transportation director or the county executive can give us an update on like percentage of streets that have been plowed at this point.
Yeah, we're over 90%.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of confidence to say where in the 90s we are. In terms of our tracking system, it was showing that we were complete, but we do recognize that there are areas that weren't addressed for a variety of reasons, some of which they are simply missed, which when you have almost 6,000 miles of road, sometimes something gets missed. And there are other locations where it was either inaccessible or we had an equipment failure in the middle of service and things were left untreated. But we know we're over 90. We're probably closer to 95, 97. But we don't want to give a percentage beyond the 90%. And we're going to hold that completion level that you're going to see in the snow tracker at that. I think we set it at 93. We're going to leave it at that level until we are completely done with residential snow operation.
Thank
So,
you.
But to reiterate a point that Chris Conklin just made, if we're at 95%, that still means almost 300 miles of road are being cleared, right? We have 5,400 miles of roads to clear. So if, even there could be 10 miles of roads not clear, and that would still be hundreds of houses. So that's why just trying to level set expectations, that it's an enormous amount of roads we have to clear and what 95% reflects from a mileage standpoint, which is we've also done 5,000 miles of lanes cleared and plowed.
Thank you, Mr. Madaleno, who is our Chief Administrative Officer. I see Nicole Asbury, the Washington Post. Go ahead, Nicole, you have a question?
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for putting this together today. I have two in particular. One of the first things that I'm really curious of is, it was mentioned that there are some equipment failures that have happened mid-plow. Can you be a little bit more specific of what the nature of those equipment failures exactly have been? And then I have another question right after that.
Yeah, no problem. So some of those equipment failures are transmission failures, rear differential failures, so the gear system that powers the rear wheels, hydraulic system failures, that is how the plow is operated. Nothing unusual when a piece of equipment is in extreme use and under extreme stress. A lot of this plow equipment is designed to move lighter snow, as the county executive mentioned, and not at the depths and not at the degree of hardening we've had. So we have deployed a lot of other heavy equipment. But the failures that we have noticed are mechanical, the drive system of the vehicle, and hydraulic, the system that operates the plow.
And sorry, I realized I actually have two more. One of the other things I wanted to ask about is I know WSSC Water has reported a few water main breaks. Has that curtailed or had any impact on plow removal operations, or kind of how are those two things coinciding? And I know that might be a larger question for other folks as well.
I can answer that question to some extent. It does take some of our resources because when we have a water main break, we are assisting WSSC with clearing those locations and trying to find out where they are. So there are some crew and equipment assignments to those water main breaks. I wouldn't say that it's a major factor in the overall operation, though.
And then my last question particularly has to do with the 311 system and kind of the reporting and requests being marked as complete. You know, I'm curious, what is the timing or with it happening in specific right now? Has this been an issue that has ever been noticed before during previous snow emergencies, or is that still being understood as to, you know, why it's coming up in this particular snow emergency?
We have a representative from 311 here, but I'll start and then hand it off. I think it's more a question of the phrasing that the request is closed, because the request is getting to us and we're processing it. It would be better to say that the request is received and has been provided to the responding agency. And Victoria Lewis, if you want to say anything more about that, please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. I'm Victoria Lewis, 311 Director. I have received this information from Chris, and we are certainly investigating from our end what is happening that's causing this issue. When it comes to phrasing, that's definitely something that we can look into. We'll also notify our call takers to be sure that they can explain this information as residents receive it. And then we can look, you know, post-Fern to see what we can do to make sure that this is clearer. The other aspect, it might be more of a technology conversation on, you know, understanding what we are seeing when the status updates. So that's something that we will also investigate with DOT, just to ensure that we are clearer with residents as they look for status.
Thank you, Victoria. Members of the media, any additional questions for the county executive and government officials regarding snow operations at this time? No more questions? Mr. County Executive, would you like to continue with your remarks?
Yep. Just want to reiterate that our folks have been at this endlessly. And I just want all our residents to realize nobody's taken any breaks. We have put every effort our people can possibly put into to get this ice out of here, but it has been a problem. And then speaking of ice, watching what happened in Minneapolis last week, lost 2 innocent lives this month, is, you know, it's just beyond tragic. And, you know, aside from the federal occupation, which is absolutely unnecessary, and the lawless manner of federal agents, including ICE, nationwide, this has eroded public trust and violated fundamental constitutional rights. Watching a man murdered on the ground, shot by not one person, but two people, is just absolutely astounding. It is cold-blooded murder, and there's no other way to call it. That is what it was. There was no reason for doing that to somebody who was filming them with a dangerous camera, apparently. And the fact that this is the second killing it's kind of unprecedented. I went through lots of demonstrations in my time. Haven't stopped going to demonstrations. People did not routinely get shot in demonstrations. It was not a normal thing to see violence at the level that you see right now. And it's disturbing to see the utter disregard for people that's being exhibited by the federal government. It's amazing they actually managed to infuriate gun rights activists by saying, well, of course they shot him because he was carrying a gun. For all the gun rights activists who think that's a God-given right to carry guns, it was quite a shock to hear the president say something negative about carrying a gun. It's all sad, and it's just amazing we find ourselves in this position. For a policy that was supposed to be taking the worst out of the community, it's taking anybody out of the community they can get their hands on. They're not picking up people who are criminals. They're not focusing on criminals. They're taking whoever they see who looks brown or black or speaks with an accent that they know is foreign. And it's disturbing that this is becoming the norm. And Montgomery County so far has been lucky in the sense that the activities here have been smaller. We get people picked up routinely here, but nothing like what we've seen in Minnesota, Chicago, Portland, Los Angeles. But it is coming here. And I think everybody here needs to be sober and real about this. The ICE is hiring up. We've heard reports that there are going to be 250 agents coming into the state, and that Montgomery County and Baltimore City are two of the targets of those agents. So don't get too comfortable or passive about thinking that what we're seeing now is just what it's going to be. It's bad, but it's not what you're seeing in these other jurisdictions. Their plans are to come here and operate the way they've operated every place else, unless the president or the clowns in charge of these agencies make it very clear that they're not going to continue to operate this way. But if this is going to be rabid, random pick and grab, and just take who you can get and not focused on any particular targets like criminals who they say shouldn't be here, we're going to see very different things in Montgomery County than what we've been experienced. I don't know if it's coming this week. I don't know if it's coming 2 weeks from now or a month from now, but that certainly is their plan. They are certainly hiring ICE at a level that would only be deployed, or it's only a level of ICE agents necessary only if you're going to deploy them this way. So I hope that everybody just has some sober sense of what could possibly happen here. Communities across the country, as well as here in Montgomery County, are living with the reality of federal activity and its intensification, and the heightened tensions and the heightened fears, and people risk serious harm. When federal immigration enforcement looks and feels like a military occupation, trust collapses and violence escalates. I was part of a peaceful protest in Silver Spring following the Rachel Good killing. We have many people here in our own community with the strength and compassion to take a stand on behalf of minority communities that are being persecuted. Our cameras are modern day weapons because they help reveal the truth in the face of lies. Finally, after the brutal execution of Alex Preddy by Customs and Border Patrol agents, we're starting to see some sort of rationality take root within Congress. If even the NRA is questioning the use of federal agents, you've possibly gone way too far. It is sad that elected officials listen more to the gun lobby than common sense, but in this case, the Second Amendment advocates are at least staying true to their principles. No neighborhood should feel like a battlefield. No family should fear the routine encounters with federal government officials will end in violence. Nobody in Montgomery County should worry about their kid being kidnapped from on their way to or from school and being dangled outside of their apartment building as a bait to force a parent to come outside and get their kid. That should not happen anywhere. Montgomery County stands in solidarity with Minneapolis. We share their concern, their grief, and their demand for accountability and transparency. We know ICE actively is likely to increase even more in our region. We're seeing increased staffing at local offices, more vehicles. There's at least one facility that we know is being purchased, not in Montgomery County, but in the state of Maryland, and possibly two, where we're meant to be very, very large detention facilities. They've talked about detention facilities that can hold 80,000 people. So they're not talking about a few detentions here and there. We're coordinating with the governor's office and local justice partners to share information and prepare for this. In the meantime, I urge more people to please don't engage or interfere with federal agents, because at this point, many of them aren't following the law. Attend your Know Your Rights presentations or watch them online to better understand constitutional protections and legal options, including training for those who want to help document enforcement and do it safely. Families who may be impacted by immigration statutes should create a comprehensive family preparedness plan. The community should continue to support established organizations standing with and serving immigrant needs by donating time, money, or resources. The Amicus Center for Immigrant Rights, Catholic Charities, Carecen, CASA, and Identity are just a few. And further support can be found at the county's Gilchrist Immigration Resource Center. We need elected leaders and the public to get behind these efforts to stop these illegal federal immigration enforcement activities within neighborhoods. It's a matter of protecting lives and preventing a miscarriage of justice by ignoring the Constitution. Since silence and delay are not leadership, people need to show leadership. In case you missed the announcement last week, I should shift this a little bit different. We're going to turn to a happier topic now. Since you missed the announcement last week, we received great news in the community of Long Branch that was designated as a Main Street community in Maryland. This is a major milestone in the revitalization of one of our most culturally vibrant commercial districts in Montgomery County. It is also one of the districts that is most likely to see ICE activity. Achievements like this don't happen in a vacuum. I want to thank Governor Westmore and Housing Secretary Jake Day for their partnership in this. I also want to congratulate Montgomery Housing Partnership for their leadership, along with Councilmember Kate Stewart, our D20 delegation, and our dedicated county teams at DHCA and MNCPPC and the Long Branch Business League and the Silver Spring Regional Services Center. Everybody played a role. But most importantly, this designation belongs to the people who call Long Branch home. Your commitment to fostering an inclusive, vibrant community is what made this possible. And let's continue to invest in our future together. Many people may want to experience the unique character of this neighborhood now, and we invite them to do so. Visit discoverlongbranch.com to learn more. We're going to open it up to question now, but I want to give my staff any opportunities to share any updates, and I'm going to start with our health team first.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. County Executive. And I want to also thank echo the same sentiments and thanking our community partners. Thank you, Director Conklin, for all the work that you did or you continue to do as we respond to the extreme temperature and weather conditions. DOT has been very instrumental in helping our homeless folks get out of harm's way and into warming centers. His team has also helped with our countyans being transported to dialysis or working with our teams to get to their special appointments. So I want to give a special thanks to him. Help continues to be within reach. I know that Director Conklin mentioned that folks may be experiencing cabin fever or just the need to get outside. There's always someone to talk to at our Crisis Service Center if you just want to vent. Again, that number is 240-77-4000. If there's an extreme emergency and you do see someone who's outside either in the evening or early morning times, and it is a medical emergency or life-threatening event, please contact 911. We want to get those individuals out of harm's way or into the hospital. Last but not least, we have our homeless information helpline. That number is 240-907-2688. The Department of Health and Human Services is focused on helping our unhoused individuals who may be transient or just don't have a warm place to stay, to be in a warming center. I appreciate that. And if folks could get that message out. Now, I'll turn it over to Dr. Ashford for her public health update.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bridgers. Nothing major to report as of right now, just as a reminder to folks to stay warm, take breaks if you are slowly starting to unshovel your vehicle or your driveway. As the county executive mentioned, everything is covered with about 3 to 6 inches of ice, which increases the risk of heart attacks. And we want to make sure that folks are being safe when they are out there exerting themselves. Check in on your neighbors. And that is the update that I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashford. Any other updates from county officials? Members of the media, any additional questions this afternoon? No more questions? Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Using the drone. So right now we're still in the baby steps, but eventually I fully expect this will be used very robustly. And again, it's helping us streamline